Welcome guys, it's time to talk over the last season. From your feedback from the feedback request video as well as from some of the other videos from the season, I figured that some of you would like me to talk more about the decks that I played and the concept behind the deck rather than just playing them. So we're doing a small recap for the Season 8, which is over now. It awarded this fancy card bag. Okay, nice. And is over now. I got to top 60 legend from rank, where do you start? 18? The season again, so let's talk a little bit about the season and its decks. Prevalent in this season was of course the Hunter class, with like two main archetypes. The first one is the classic mid-rangey Hunter that I also played during the season, so we will go into that. And what evolved again is the kind of face Hunter that, well, kind of this I used in Season 4 to do my free-to-play series. And it's making a comeback with like Wolf Riders and a King Golems. The main difference basically is that it doesn't run too many secrets, because you don't have the card draw, the massive card draw from Unleash and the old Buzzard anymore. So you, even with Mad Scientist thinning your deck, you need to like focus on damage and pushing more through the hard taunts that next Ramas included, most noticeably the Sludge Belcher. So, what decks did we... no. Okay, first, what decks were prevalent too? So, main is the Hunter class, then there's the obligatory Zoo, which is always there. It's like a constant because, well, mainly because it's cheap, but it wasn't as present as in previous seasons, mainly I think because of the Hunter. Both Hunter builds do pretty well, or both prevalent Hunter builds do pretty well against Zoo. So that's not, that's basically a problem. So what also evolved or still stuck in the meta is of course the control warrior, because it usually does very well against Hunters, as well as priests, and there's like all these classes and the handlock, like hunting the hunters, which means that handlock usually has a good matchup against both priest, of course, and also the control warrior, but has a tough matchup against Zoo, good matchup against Zoo, hard matchup against Hunters. But what I've read from experienced handlock players were that they actually got to like 50 to 60% win rate against Hunters. So people are figuring out how to play the matchup and how to tech their decks against Hunters in the first place. So, what decks did we bring to this season? Well, we started with an occasional rogue deck. Like, you see rogues occasionally on ladder. And I also tried myself with some miracle action in the beginning of the season. I think I used this build, I'm not sure anymore, but well, you know the deal with miracle rogues. It's like getting gadgets and out, playing a lot of cheap spells, keeping the board clear with spells, and then going for a big finishing blow, or establishing board control with like Loathab and Cold Blood, and then conceal it, and then deal this 9 damage again next turn by zapping the Sludge Belcher that they just played, something like that. I mean you know the deck probably, and this version runs 2 conceals and 2 fans. Yeah, miracle builds are a matter of change, especially against Hunters. Some play Viola Teachers, some play even Zombie Chows, but overall the main concept is the same, but the tech is a little bit different after the Leroy nerf. My opinion on this deck, it doesn't do that well against Hunters. You can tech your deck against Hunters, you can also like mastering the matchup, but it doesn't fit too well into the meta that I experienced last season. Now I did the numbers wrong. This should be 2 and this 3. Okay, well, whatever. The zoo, I mean, if you play this game, you've seen this deck probably a lot, and you know the plan. Aggressive board control with minions, keeping board control, getting favorable trades, killing your opponents before they can stabilize. Yeah, that's basically it. I played a version that is most likely... I think it's very similar to the Fire Bet list. I might be 1-2 cards differently, I don't know. But it includes Power Overwhelming and Void Terror, which is sometimes a little bit inconsistent, especially if it goes into the tap decking, where you just tap and draw 2 cards a turn and then play them whatever they are. But on the other hand, there are some very nice combos, especially with these 2 cards combined, like getting Power Overwhelming on an egg, then it's a 4-6 and run it into something, then it's maybe a 4-3 and then you get a 7-6 Void Terror turn 3 or something. Something crazy like that, but doesn't work out too well. But Power Overwhelming gives favorable trades, whereas Void Terror can give you a strong minion if you need one. And can also trigger death rattles like from the Nerubian egg. Not much to say about this. I think it does a little bit worse than in other seasons because of the Hunter dominance. Like I said before, both decks that are prevalent at the moment should deal very well with Zoo, so it wasn't that present as it was in previous seasons, but it's still like a constant in the meta. And also the Zoo tag is a little bit different from build to build, but it still has a place in the meta and it still works. So the next one was Handlock. I played quite a bit of Handlock this season, with Faceless going off sometimes for an unstable ghoul, like a tech card if I saw a lot of Hunters, also double Hailfire, double Shadow Flame, more AoE against all these Hunters, or Zeus, and that were around. And yeah, you know the concept of this deck too, it's nothing too fancy. Best case is like tap all the time until you reach turn 4 and can play a big Twilight Drake or a Mountain Giant, and then keep your taunts up and throw big threats at the board. And if this game goes into the end game, play Jiraxes and get a free 6/6, or basically free 6/6 every turn, and have a big weapon and heal back up to 15, and then finish the game off. The next deck was Hunterless, which is what I talked about earlier, the double Snake Trap Hunter. It's interesting how Snake Trap was never been played for a lot of seasons, and now it came into the meta pretty quickly. We've seen it a lot before, or sometimes, but haven't seen it that dominantly being into Hunter builds in this season, or maybe the season before too. The main concept is, and what makes it good against Zoo, is the Snake Traps, because it denies an opponent to get good trades with your minions if they figure out what it is, until they have an answer like Swipe or Unleash or Hellfire or something. Or if they get a trade, you get at least 3 1/1s out, which, especially against Zoo, for example, is usually able to kill like 2 minions. So that's nothing that you want to do, especially if Knife Juggler is out, so you have to clear the Knife Juggler without any attack, if you don't want to get 3 knives into your minions and the attack from the Knife Juggler. If your opponents manage to play around the Snake Trap, then you can always play the Sludge Belcher and force them to trade into that. So the whole concept is, I would not say focused around Snake Trap, because it's most likely focused around a good start with Undertakers and Web Spinners. I mean, you know the deal. It's like turn 1, Undertaker, coin Leper Gnome into Mad Scientist, into Bow, and then have a free secret and burst your opponent down. I mean, you know that, but the other version that is pretty prevalent at the moment is Aggro Hunter with like Wolf Riders and the King Golems. They just run 2 explosive traps to just push for more damage, which is also kind of reliable with the Mad Scientist, so they can just reduce minions to 2 attack, 2 health, and trade into something with the Mad Scientist and get a guaranteed explosive trap, which is also nice, for example, against Zoo. Or any other class that can heal their minions out of range. So this deck is a little bit tagged against hunters. It just runs 1 Knife Juggler, which is a little bit debatable, but therefore to unleash. If more control decks were around, I would probably have made this change different in the other direction, like 2 jugglers and 2 unleashes. But with all hunters and Zeus around, unleash is a pretty strong card. And, you can either even trigger your opponent's snake trap and then counter it with 3 more hounds that just kills the snakes or throws more knives or whatever. So this is pretty cool. And also runs 1 Timberwolf because of the Unleash and Snake Trap synergy. This could also be a Direwolf Alpha, for example. But it worked very well until rank 2, and from rank 2 I got a little bit like bored of the whole hunters versus hunters matchup, so I tried something that I've played in my very early seasons, with a new build, of course, the Watcher Druid, which concept is like the most sophisticated from all the decks that I showed. Maybe Miracle was a little bit. Well, whatever. So you can get out a turn 2 Yeti with this one, but it can't attack, obviously, and that's why you run a lot of silence. All of the silence that is in the game, basically, like Ironbeak Owl, Keeper of the Grove, and Spellbreakers. This is especially nice in this meta because you can silence all these Death Rattle minions that are around. You can silence turn 1 Undertaker and make it a 1/2, which trades into the Owl as well. So this deck is basically an anti-hunter deck to some extent, because if you imagine, no, you have seen the gameplay videos probably of mine, but still. So he plays a turn 1 Undertaker, you play the Owl into the Undertaker, which is a 1/2 then, which trades 1 for 1 here, but they have to clear the Owl because it contests cards like Mad Scientist or Labyrgnomes, so they have to trade their 1/2 in, so it saves you 1 more damage to the face, and you can heal yourself up and swipe your opponent down and have a lot of more silences against all these Mad Scientists and Savannah Highmanes and all this stuff. You can even deny your opponent the draw from a Loot Hoard or something. Can set up big taunts like the Root of the Claw, heal yourself with Engine of Lore if you have to, heal yourself with Art of Extras if you have to. You run double combo for some kind of pressure. And of course, why it's called Watcher, and it has strong early game with the Zombie Chow too. But why is it called Watcher? Well, because of the Ancient Watchers, which are Yetis that can't attack, but you run a lot of silence, so you can silence this off. Sometimes your opponent is a little bit afraid that you taunt it up or silence it, so they kill it before you can kill it, before you can activate it, which is also cool because they waste resources into it, and you don't have to spend your activator, which gives you another silence. Worked very, very well. So the Dream Star is like Zombie Chow or Coin Watcher into Ironbeak Owl, then you have a turn 2 Yeti that can also attack, so it's like, but you also run Innovate, so you can also innovate out the Druid of the Claw and don't have to go for the turn 1 Yeti, well, the literal Yeti. Overall, it's about getting a good start with this deck. If you run against Control Warriors, or no, Control decks. Control Warrior is what I mentioned because it's one of the hardest matchups. It requires you to have like an Ancient Watcher into Ironbeak Owl start and then go for pressure and pressure. until you can finish him off with a combo, and sometimes it doesn't work. If they can establish their board, then their minions are usually stronger than yours. But that's true for most matchups with Control Warrior. It's also not that great against Control or ramp druids that use ramp cards, like the Wild Growth, because they're usually a little bit faster than you, and they reach the critical combo level, like 9 mana and 14 HP faster than you, so you have to play it defensively, and then you usually lose. Does probably most of the time well against Priest because of Ancient Watcher having 4 health, and Spellbreaker, and Druid of the Claw, and Lothab is a strong minion, so usually against Priest you can apply a lot of pressure. So it fit very well into the meta, and I played it to the top 60 legend last season, which worked out kinda nice. So that's about the Season 8, and about the decks that I used and the decks that I faced, and well, we'll see another season with the inclusion of Goblin vs. Gnomes cards, and I'm a little bit excited. It's not there yet, but many people assume that it will come during the next 2 days, because there's a big maintenance going on, and well, I personally agree with this with these predictions, but you never know with Blizzard, so we'll see. But I'll definitely play the next season as well, so we'll see you there. So thanks for watching, and see you around next time. Bye bye.